Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world and whether you're watching this live or on the replay. It's much better live. We had a few problems with our events, our channel saying, oh, my camera's doing weird stuff as well. Is it my imagination or am I blurry? I'll undo this. How's that? Okay, I don't know what's going on there. It shouldn't be blurry. Oh, there you go. It's worked its way out. Yeah, I've had a very weird night. We had tornadoes around here. It does happen. It is spring and it is Texas, and so spring and Texas go together. And the way we know it's spring is we get tornado season arrive, and yeah, it was pretty bad. There's trees down, power lines down. We're okay. I mean, my neighbour's trash cans got thrown up the street by the wind, and all sorts of exciting things happen. I don't see stuff going on in the chat, which is unusual. I have a feeling something's not right with our thing. Just 1 second. Let me just check something. Everything seems to be correct. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Well, if you're in the chat and you want to say hi, and we'll see what's happening. Maybe we clicked the wrong buttons. Producer Martha wasn't around today, and I did some things, and someone had deleted some of our channel stuff that we normally set up. So I don't know, maybe we messed up. So that's the way these things go. We normally have a lot of people. Oh, here we go. Oh, so there are some people there. Okay. Sometimes you feel like you're sitting in a room on your own talking to yourself, and it gets a little bit worrying because you think, am I crazy? I might be crazy. I think I am. There you go. See, look, everybody's saying hello now. Hi everybody. Good to hear from you. So today's topic, we're going to include a replay of a webinar we did for the winter webinars, and the reason is that what do you call it, the actual demo that I did was pretty good, and the slides were good as well. So I thought, I know, I'll chop a bit out of that and show that, and you know, rather than redo it, because I'm gonna space. I mean, WebStencils. There's only so many different things I can say about. Hey, it's really cool. Dave is here from the UK. Nuke Man from the USA. Hello from Germany, Björn. Nuke Man, hello. Good evening from the Netherlands. Armando, bom dia from Brazil. I think it's, if I'm judging by the chaos that is on Instagram, I believe it is Carnival or something like that at the moment. Some kind of, I mean, Brazil does party so well, but I see a lot of people out in the streets dancing away. I saw someone, Sileida is one of our MVPs. I saw her dancing in the rain. It was pouring down the rain, and some poor singer was holding this umbrella and trying to sing without being electrocuted because it was chucking it down with rain. It reminded me of British carnivals and fates, because it always rains there. But Armando, I know who you are, and I hope you're doing well. Pavel, hello Pavel from Poland as well. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about. A couple of things. First of all, my friends at oh, I haven't got a link for it. Let me just see if I've got a link. Have I not got a link anywhere for it? Oh, here we go. My friends at GDK Software, they're doing a kind of world tour, or certainly a significant tour around. And we are going to do a little blog post about it, because for March, we're going to start doing some webinars to do with AI. It's the flavor of the month, hot topic, and 12.2 of Rad Studio includes some AI features in it. We introduced them first in 12.1 and then strengthened them again in 12.2. And GDK and Softicom, who are another company, but certainly GDK, are doing some training to do with AI. So if you are a Delphi fan, and I'm sure you are if you're watching this webinar, and you're interested in AI, then go to that link, training.gdksoftware.com, and they've got some AI training. I think some of the events are sold out, because there's only so many people they can have because they want to actually do a classroom environment where they educate people properly and not just a big conference where you wave to 150, 200 people or something like that. No, it's much more intimate than that. But I did promise Marco G, our guy for the Pioneering Simplicity book there. He's the author for that. I did promise him that I'd make sure it got promoted a bit, and so I am. And whilst we're on the subject, of course, go there if you are in Europe. I'm going to keep saying this every week until we get to the point where I'm off the air, which is a few more weeks yet. But if you're in Europe and you can afford it and you want to, go to here, the DelphiSummit.com, and have a look and take a look at what happened last year. They've got an after show video. It's run by GDK Software. We're helping sponsor it to a certain degree. I'll be there. Marco Cantu will be there. Ray Konopka is going to be there. A whole bunch of Delphi people are going to be there, but I'm obviously representing the company. And I'm doing a session, at least one session, maybe two, and I'm on a round table panel. But come and hang out. I say this every time. Just hang out with me. Let's talk about Delphi and let's talk about software development in general. And if there's anything you've ever wanted to say to Embarcadero, come up and talk to me. I look just like this. Everywhere I go, I always wear the same shirt and a pair of jeans, so you can't miss me. Tall guy, fat guy with the Embarcadero shirt on, a bald head. You can't miss me. I look just like this, and I sound like this as well. So if you can make it, go along. Who else we got? Oh, we got some people saying hi as well. From Pavel from Poland, who we already mentioned. Norway, hello from Norway. Now it is open. Yes, it is. Satya from Chicago, Illinois. Hello there, Satya. I know you. I've seen you around. Bob's Music Channel. Cheers, Ian. Hello, Bob. I should have said cheers to Dave. Actually, Peter's from the UK. And Reinaldo Cunha. I think that's how I pronounce your name. Hi from Brazil. Thank you very much. So I talked about the Delphi Summit. Everybody's going to be there. Lots of other things going on. And I've also got lots of links for things as well. There is also a really good book just come out by one of our MVPs. This is Dalia Prashnikar. Excellent author. She's already got, I think, 3 or 4 books. But she's got another book out about testing and quality, code quality and stuff like that. She is an incredibly smart software developer. I've got a lot of respect for her. Her husband is a really talented photographer. I think her son's a photographer as well. The whole family just annoyingly good at things. But go to dalia.prashnikar.info and look at her books there. Just giving you a heads up on what's available. And whilst we're on the subject of stuff that you can do, also go and look at blazepascalmagazine.eu, which is a magazine dedicated to Object Pascal. So that's Free Pascal, Lazarus, all the other flavors of different types of Pascal that are out there, including just plain Pascal, and Delphi, of course, as well. But I do write articles for them. I get on very well with Detlef, who is the editor, and blazepascalmagazine.eu. Okay, so Daniel Fernando Gonzalez Peña says, hello, everyone from Florida Blanca, Colombia. Hello, Daniel. Hola. I think you probably speak Spanish, Daniel. Thank you for joining. So as I said before, I'm going to do part of this webinar live and partly play you a video I did for the winter webinars. And the reason is it's the same slides, and the video was very popular. In fact, I think we got something like 2.8 thousand views for that video. So I obviously hit the nail on the head. The links that you see in there still work, and they will take you to the slides for the presentation that I'm going to show you. And when the video stops, and it'll be quite abrupt because I clipped some stuff off. Maui. Boo! You have a lovely, beautiful places, Maui. Fantastic. I love Texas. It's a beautiful part of the world. Certainly, I love the Texas weather, but it's not as beautiful as Maui. Let's put it that way. It's a little bit kind of flat and boiling hot in the summer and pretty warm in the winter as well. But aloha, my friend, from Maui. So yes, pre-recorded video. It's about 50 plus minutes long. Because I'm playing a video, I can actually talk to you in the chat this time. Normally I don't get the chance to do that, but I will be able to do that. So if you want to say hi in the chat and things like that. But what I'm going to do is shoot you over to the video now, and I'll be back live and show you a little bit more of a demo after the pre-recorded video. But like I say, this is from Winter Webinars in November, I think it was, and it's me, so it's going to be a bit weird. You're going to hear me talking. And what's today's webinar? Well, how to use WebStencils to easily create modern, professional, super fast websites. I say easily. There is a little bit of effort involved, because you do have to do a little bit of coding to get a few things working. But once you get the hang of it, once you've got the basic framework going, and you can do that easily with the demo, take the demo and then butter it up and cut it up, you can then create some really good websites with it. They're very, very efficient, and they use regular web technology. Later on in our webinar series, we're going to do some live demos of some not copies, but emulations of some of the popular products like Instagram, Facebook, a banking app, and a few others as well. We're not copying them. We're just showing you how you can create that kind of social networking type app. And we're going to use, for the back end, some of the WebStencils technology to do that, to show what it can do. And also, because it's the easiest way of doing it. We're also going to be having Richard Hatherall from Appercept with us. He's going to show us some of the AWS and the Amazon stuff that we can do as well. So this won't be the last time you hear about WebStencils. You're going to see a lot more of it in another couple of webinars time. So let's just talk about web technology that you can get with Delphi and C++ Builder. Actually, it's quite a lot, weirdly enough. For the client/browser side, the big ones, I suppose, or the most popular ones, are HTMX Web Core, which is basically what it does is you write Delphi code and you design your forms and your screens just like a regular Delphi app, using their components. They've got some framework, neutral components, and some web core components. But you design your apps and write your apps just like it's a regular Delphi program. When you hit compile, instead of compiling and creating an exe like you would with Windows, or creating a Java jar file, or a IPA file for iOS, instead what you actually create are a bunch of HTML and CSS files, because it transpiles the Delphi code into JavaScript. And in fact, they're about to do some stuff with TypeScript as well, which is interesting. I've used it myself. You can literally write Delphi code and produce a website from it, and design your screens and outcomes, a website that looks like you would expect, a website to look. It's kind of like taking a Delphi desktop app and creating one that suddenly works in a browser. Interesting stuff. Intraweb is the same. Intraweb is the granddaddy of all of this. It's been around a very, very long time. I like it. I'm a big fan of it. It does a similar thing to Web Core, except it's all self-contained. So with Intraweb, what you basically do is create an executable that basically is the web server, and the web pages are all served up from that application. You can create it as an ISAPI module, so it could be sitting in Apache or something like that. But you can do standalone web browsers as well. Very, very good Intraweb, different from Web Core, different idea, but still the same principles. You're doing it so that the browser is the be-all and end-all of everything. And then in Intraweb's case, there is actually a back-end server technology as well. With Web Core, you tend to be talking to something like an Xdata module or something like that. You do need an Apache web server or Nginx web server or something like that. Unigui takes that one step further. It's a very, very similar thing. It uses an OEM version of Sencha.js, which is a JavaScript client-side thing. And again, you drop on components, and off you go. You end up with a web app. Very interesting products. All of these deserve their own webinars. If you Google for any of those, they'll come up. You'll see lots of webinars on it. I'm not going to talk about them today, other than to say that they exist. Server side, we're even more spoiled. RAD server is an Embarcadero product. It allows you to serve up web pages and data. It's a general purpose REST server and lots of other things as well. Very, very powerful. A kind of application / data server, really, and interesting stuff. Web Broker is the traditional way of creating web pages with Delphi, and in fact, we're going to see Web Broker today because the demo I've got is using Web Broker. Indie is a collection of components that allow you to do things like create HTTP clients, create chat clients, all the basic nuts and bolts of internet connectivity. Indie is the one. It's very well respected in the industry. If you've done anything to do with the internet at all, you've probably used Indie and maybe not even known it, because lots of other packages use Indie in the background to achieve what they want to achieve. Great stuff. Got a lot of good things to say for it. Lots of work going on behind the scenes about Indie at the moment. They're updating a few things to do with the SSL. You'll see that work on the project is open source, and you can go along and have a look. Horse is a project based out of Brazil, and I noticed we had someone from Brazil on the chat there. Horse allows you to basically stand up very bare bones web servers and web technology type pages very, very easily. You literally go horse and off it goes. Up comes this project. There's a webinar about that, and we're going to do another one just to show what it does. Very, very, very popular in Brazil. You see a lot of the Brazilians talking about it. Delphi MVC framework, also extremely well respected. It's difficult to explain. It's kind of like a back-end technology that then creates front-end data. There's a webinar and lots of pages about it. The same with Mormot, which is a different idea. Mormot is an object relational model. So you create classes and things like that, and then Mormot surfaces those. I'm really doing a terrible job butchering the explanation for those. Go and watch the webinars about them. Go and watch some videos about them. They'll explain it. It's one of these things where it's difficult to explain until the penny drops, and then once you get it, you go, oh, okay, I understand. That's really cool. Both of those definitely cool. Mormot at the moment, we are looking to get into Get It. There's a couple of issues to that because it has some encryption technology. As a US-based company, we get the US government saying what we can and can't distribute, because they get a bit worried that encryption is going to be used for nefarious purposes. And so there's a licensing restriction. Most of the time, we can distribute stuff as long as our legal people have given the thumbs up. We would love to have Mormot on Get It so that people can download it, and we're looking to make that happen, and so the Mormot team as well. So we're talking about that at the moment. Finally, server side, kind of similar to WebStencils, is Semper. This is by Conrad Vermeulen, very great developer based in the UK, South African, but now I would say he's as much British as anything else, been there a long time. Very nice guy, good friend of mine. I love him to bits. He does some very good, long, detailed explanations of how Semper works. What it does is a templating language. His tooling behind that, like test frameworks and stuff like that, is an absolute work of art. Really, really good. Conrad is just one of these people that's a real craftsman at what he does, and I've got a lot of respect for him. And WebStencils is kind of stamped a little bit on Semper. I'm just going to pause this for a second. It turns out that something weird happened with our YouTube streaming, and everyone's saying hi now because apparently there were hundreds of people sitting in a different YouTube channel waiting. I'm really sorry about that. The good news is you haven't really missed much, because it's a replay right now. It's a replay of the winter webinars stream. 103 people arriving in seconds. Whoa. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm so sorry, Einstein and Paul and all the others. I'm really sorry about that. And also, thank you once again to Patrick Prematin, who is always my hero, our Spirit of Delphi award winner from 2024, who is always there and he's like, hey, Ian, something bad is going on. And I'm really, really sorry about that. So anyway, you're back. I passed the, Charles, I passed the link on to Patrick so that he could give it to you. And I'm so sorry about that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to carry on. I've only just started doing the replay. So what we're going to do is replay the web stencils webinar from the winter webinars, and then I'm going to go live at the end of it. So actually, you haven't missed a lot if you're regular viewers, because you're there. And there you go, it's me, but on the other browser. So Patrick there. So sorry about that. It is actually probably my fault. Producer Martha's not around. Like I said, we had a bit of a situation with all sorts of weird stuff going on. I got woken up so many times last night because we had tornadoes around here. So it was a little bit exciting, and my dogs kept waking up. But I'm going to unpause the video and carry on playing it. You've only missed 8 minutes of it, and it was all just me saying we're talking about WebStencils. But this is a pre-recorded video, and then we'll be going live because it's in the same kind of field. But Semper aims to do one thing differently, and WebStencils aims to do something in a different way as well. And there's other templating languages out there, but Semper and WebStencils are the ones that I'm mentioning right now. What is WebStencils? Well, it's a templating library. What do we mean by that? Well, you create web pages and you put some little special keywords in it. And then behind the scenes, there is a Delphi server app or a server-side application powered by Rad Studio. And it interprets those special tokens. And you can see that on the right of the screen there where it says @if. And it will process that, and out comes, instead of that web page, out comes the final results of the web page. It's very, very powerful. You can put any JavaScript library in there, and in fact, the demo will show you that being used. It can have all the CSS and all the web technology. Basically, all the things that a web developer is familiar with, you give them the web page and tell them, put in these keywords where you need this bit to appear. For example, some employee pictures or something, and they'll go, oh yeah, I get it. They can use anything they like to edit those web pages, their favorite editor, hopefully Ultra Edit, but it could be, Visual Studio Code or Notepad++ or just simple Notepad, or I don't know, whatever the web developers want to use. They create the web pages as normal. You tell them what keywords to put in there. They put the keywords in, and out comes a dynamic web page. How good is that dynamic web page? Well, it can support HTMX, for example, which is a really great web development solution. HTMX gets rid of a lot of the JavaScript functionality. If you've got a button to do a checkbox, then you usually have to have some JavaScript behind it to say, on click, go and do this, and then lots of JavaScript to make that functionality happen. With HTMX, that's all very transparent, and it's very, very simple. You just put a class annotation there, property, against the HTML entity, and HTMX library takes care of everything else. Very, very useful. We're going to show a demo of that in a moment. I'm going to show you how that works, but they can use HTMX. But having said that, with WebStencils, because it's just plain HTML, you can do anything you like. It can literally be a regular web page that you give to any bog standard, web developer and say, here you go, create me a beautiful looking web page. I'm going to deal with the back end technology part of it. And that's all you do. You write your Delphi stuff or your C++ builder code and let the web guy or web girl take care of the web pages. You can do it all yourself if you want. And you can even ask, ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, create me a a web page that looks beautiful and does the following, and then put the keywords in where you want the values to appear. What can those pages look like? Well, actually pretty beautiful. This is a demo from Dr. Holger Flick, a buddy of mine, MVP and super consultant, super busy at the moment. He does a lot of web design, does a lot of Next.js amongst other things as well. But WebStencils is a server-side script-based integration and processing of the HTML. So it's a template engine, which means you create a web page that is not fully finished. It's a template. It's got some bits in it that the templating engine fills out. So what can that template do? It's not just a placeholder that gets replaced like a string where you have, you know, %s and then it replaces the %s with the parameter of a string. No, it's actually more powerful than that. So it can do things like loops. And if you see on the right there, there's a div class, which is just regular HTML, a div element. And then the class is gallery, which is CSS. So the CSS is just deciding how that gallery looks. It's got rounded corners. It's got a shadow behind it. It's in a rectangle of a certain size, and there's a certain amount of padding around it. All of this regular HTML stuff that you give to your HTML person who's, you know, is the expert at it. We then have another div which says item, and in there is a loop where we just put the image. The data URL is the image that we're pulling down from our database. Could be anything else. You've got full control over what's happening. But as you can see, it loops through that database for each person or each item in a class or a collection called people. It will produce one of those images, one of those girls that you see there in the images. It will produce one of them for each record in the loop. This may sound a bit weird at the moment. Trust me, when I show you the demo, all will become clear. It's got some core web scripting syntax. So it uses the @ symbol that you put in your HTML for special processing of symbols. And then you use the curly braces, everybody's favorite curly braces, to define blocks as well. So you can have conditionals, and you can say, if my object, which is a variable in your program, that is got a property or a function, shall we say, a method that returns a value of true or false. If the value is below 10, and as you can see in the top there where it says processor generic add var object to, we've created one called mark, and mark's value is 9. Then we can say if the value is less than 10, you put the word, the value underneath it, which says X has a value of X, which is under 10. And there you can see it out down there. That's what it translates to. Mark has a value of 9, which is below 10. So you can do conditional statements. This looks a bit tricky right now. In the demo, it will become clear. What else can you do? Well, you can say, I want to access a database that's in my application, in my server side. So for every record in my database, I want you to output a block of HTML code, and it will be a variable that we set up called loop. Could be I, you know, that kind of var I. Loop.company, loop.city, loop.state. So these are properties of my data set, and I'm getting them sent out to me in my template. So I set my template up. I say, okay, here's a description of what my data set contains. Here are the fields. It's got a company field, it's got a country field, it's got a city field, it's got a state field. Now make me a web page that has got a template set up that will show those in the appropriate place. And as you see, if you follow the arrow up, you can see here I've got a thing called companies. And then for each record in that data set, up comes the name of the company, which is Kauai Dive Shoppy. I have no idea if that's how you pronounce it. The country is Kapakuai, and the state is HI, which is Hawaii, and the country code, which is over on the right, is the US. UNESCO, Freeport in the Bahamas, Site Diver, Akatopaphos in Cyprus. Make sense? If not, we'll get there. You can do all sorts of complicated things, but it looks difficult. But trust me, once you start doing it, it's very easy, really easy. The web broker is what we're using for this demo. The web broker actions, you basically connect an action to a WebStencils processor, and then in the action handler, you connect the processor script variables, run the processor, and off goes the resulting HTML. In the script, you use the variables. So the script being the HTML, you use the variables to generate the HTML, and back comes the results from WebBroker. All of this is very difficult to explain, but actually once you start doing it, it's very easy. Trust me. Hang in there. What kind of keywords? Well, luckily we've got a demo that tells you all the keywords and how they work and what you can do with them, but there are a lot. You can have comments, you can have conditional statements, you can have if not, so if something is not, if the cart is not empty, or if the person is not female, or if the cat is alive, then you can say Schrodinger lied or something like that. It's much more that you can do with things like JavaScript, because all you do is set this template and the template's fixed. You output that as a file, store it somewhere where you tell the processor where it is, and off it goes and it works. There are things like query access, the HTTP parameters. So if someone goes to your web page and you know the kind of thing where it says question mark order number equals, and then they have the order number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can actually access that in the using the act query and component. You can put comments in, you can put the conditional statements, you can process for each, so something in an object list for each object that you found. You can import templates, so templates and have templates. You can have some scaffolding code, which is difficult to explain, but once you see how it works, again, it's fairly straightforward. And what else can you do? Well, another thing that it does is, because it's HTML, it is also responsive. So you can see there on the smaller image, I've got a wider browser page. And so my template is nicely sized out with the image to the left and the text underneath it. But on the left-hand image, the browser has been made smaller and the browser page is zoomed up. And so because it's HTML, it responds to that and lays it out a little bit more prettily with a bigger image, which is cool. And then the name of the movie underneath, and then the description of the movie. Again, this is an example from Dr. Holger Flick, who is the smart guy when it comes to HTML stuff at the moment. And it's beautiful. It looks absolutely fantastic. You can have layout pages. You can say where the body is going to be rendered. You can inject extra header code. So, for example, let's say you've got some kind of information you want to output in a header. You know, like you might say some token or some other value that you output in the header, and you know, your web app that you've written is going to process the header information that comes back. You can actually output that from the web template processor. Rendering header, where to put the extra header, so you can say, oh, I don't want it right near the top, I want it somewhere else. What does the structure look like? Well, it looks like this. So there's a tasks demo app that I'm going to show you in a moment, which uses HTMX, but it could be just a simple web page. The body of the web page at the top there, as you can see, is pretty straightforward. It's using a theme that has come back as dark, but you could make that a variable and decide on the fly whether it should be dark or not. It imports the navigation bar at the top, so you don't have to keep writing that code again. If you understand what I mean by dry code, DRY, one of the principles there is a thing called don't repeat yourself. And so why would you keep putting the code in for the nav bar? It's a very inefficient way of doing it. Instead, you can have it in a little block and then import that ready-made block in a kind of object-oriented way for web development. It's very useful. You then render the body, and then import the footer. Again, it's a ready-made footer, and then maybe you have a script for this particular page. So, it makes the body of that page straightforward. In the actual block itself, where we're importing the or rendering the body, there's the body code. So it's a list. It's got a class for an input button, a checkbox actually, and then the task ID. This is all pulled from your classes or your database, and off you go. I know it looks tricky because this is all new stuff, but believe me, once you start using it, it's really not that bad. What components do you use to make this happen? Well, there's a WebStencils processor, and that's the thing that processes an individual file, which is just a text file, a web layout file, and a standard web broker producer. So it outputs HTML to wherever you're telling it to go. I'm going to show you how that works in a moment. And then you can have an input file name, so you can read in, the name of the file that you're going to process, the template, etc., etc. WebStencils engine, that controls all of those. You can have multiple WebStencil processor components, and if you don't have one, it'll create one if you need it. It has some interfaces, so an iWeb dispatch, a root directory, default file extension, all the things you could possibly think of. And what does it do? Well, it does this kind of very powerful dynamic content which gets displayed within standard HTML pages. And this is a key feature. You can generally work with someone who's a web developer, which is one of the biggest things that people come across as Delphi developers now. There's a lot of pressure to produce web pages, and they say, we could just get someone to design the web page. Can't you do the back end? Well, yes, now you can. Using the WebStencils library, you can definitely do that. That's how easy it is. Uses all the features of HTML and CSS. I spelled CSS wrong. But CSS, so that any web designer can understand it and use it. Any web designer. The only difference is they need to know that they're going to put the name. So as you can see there, I'm looping through all the people in my database, which actually happens to be a collection, a T collection in this case. I show the image, which is a link to an image on the website, the data URL. So it's https:/norahale.picture or whatever you want to call it, .jpeg, and then put her name underneath. So whatever that person's name is ejected into that little box. And again, by using just beautiful looking CSS, regular web design stuff, out comes this improved version of the pages I showed you earlier on. All standard stuff, and you can use all the things that you could ever want in web design. Grab a template from somewhere beautiful and use it straight out of the box. Go and edit that page, put in your little loops and properties, and you've got a dynamic web page based on something already existing, web technology that already exists. Also in 12.2 were some RAD server improvements to help with the WebStencils. So one of the first things is that RAD server supports the template engine, which is kind of useful because that means that you can spin up RAD server, and if you've got the right version of RAD Studio, you'll get RAD server included in there, and it will support the WebStencils in there. The other thing that RAD server does is supports now a thing called Swagger documentation. If you've ever used a REST server, you've probably come across Swagger documentation in the past. It's just a kind of a standardized way of explaining how an API works. It's got a few other things as well, like a document service interface, so that you can output those Swagger in a certain way, and does also things like supports YAML in addition to JSON. And a few other bits and bobs as well. If you don't know what it is, then it doesn't matter. But all you need to know is with 12.2 as an improvement. And it's just really, what's the summary of WebStencils before I show you it? It's just another way to create a powerful, modern, gorgeous, dynamic web content. And we're not saying it's the be all and end all. There are other ways, as I said before. I listed them at the start: IntraWeb and all the others, Sempere and a few other technologies like UniGUI. we're not forcing you to use anything, but we just think that this particular technology is cool and does something very useful. And for me, I think it's one of the standout features of version 12, apart from Skier and a few other things as well. But for me, WebStencils is a game changer when it comes to web development, because it just makes everything so easy. So what I'm going to do is stop that bit, go back to the chat window. Oh my word, you've all been asking lots of questions, and let me just turn my camera back on for a moment, and so that we can go back to my main view, and let's just look at your questions. Okay, I'll just say hello to a couple of people because they're quite important to say hello to. Caesar, hello. Code for Delphi. Our newest MVP is this guy here, Code for Delphi. Really very, very smart guy. And also, every time I've seen him, he's dressed impeccably. He looks more like he works for the government as a representation of the government or something. He's a very, very well turned out guy, but also extremely talented developer, and does a lot of streaming as well. So hello, Caesar. So I thought it might get a little bit confusing if we start calling people's names out. So this was a recording of the winter webinars, which is kind of where we kicked things off, where it really got exciting and lots of people started joining us and things like that. And I'm now live. Hello, it is now, as we speak, the 4th of March, and this is our 30 for 30 webinars, as you probably learned before. And I am now live. That was a pre-recording of what we did in November, I think that's from. But the sessions still work. The great thing about WebStencils is it's extremely powerful. I had quite a few questions, but the main one that everybody commented on, and I'm going to pick it up now, is which is weird, is that someone, Martin, got very annoyed and said, someone from Embarcadero should say something about the wrong link. I did actually mention it already. I messed up. What happened was that we use a product called Restream, which is a very, very good broadcasting product, and it does all these cool things like QR codes. I mean, I can make a QR code appear up there like that, and when you scan it, it takes you directly to the site if you scan it with a camera or your phone. But I can also put your messages down here. And it's a really great product. I can do all sorts of crazy things, like, makes things smaller, larger, and as you saw picture in picture. But when we stream, you may be only watching us on one of the channels like YouTube or something like that, but we stream to 11 different destinations, including, I think, 3 or 4 YouTube channels: Twitch, X Live, LinkedIn, Facebook Live, Meta Live. Anyway, a lot of different places. Did I say LinkedIn? Yeah, LinkedIn. And we just get everywhere. And normally when I go in here, the events are straightforward. There's like a little thing that says, where do you want to stream to? And producer Martha, who is a diamond, has pre-set up all those links, which is what you registered for when you say, I want to register, and you click on this ready-made link. And normally I just select it, and it works. And for whatever reason, I messed up. I must have messed up on the main YouTube channel, and I clicked on it, and I think I accidentally created another going live thing, which is where you were all sitting waiting. And then Patrick went, because Patrick knows, Patrick can message me directly. He knows, how to get hold of me. And he's like, hey, dude, everybody's waiting and you're not broadcasting. I'm like, okay. So I sent him the link, and then he put it up there, and now you've all joined, as I can see from the little view account up there. But yeah, I did say something, but I think you probably missed it because you were elsewhere, because I messed up. So sorry about it. Completely my fault. That's absolutely my fault. Not producer Martha. Bob has noticed that Boyan is in the chat. Boyan is in every chat, and we're going to do a stream together, Boyan and I. I've got some very cool kits, which it's been buried somewhere, and I've also got a whole box of stuff there sent to me from someone in Amsterdam, I think, that does low ra. And Boyan did a stream recently, and there was a few problems. I think he was going to have Jim McKeith on there, and he couldn't make it, and there was a few issues with the streaming. Normally, when I stream, it works like clockwork. Blow me down if today didn't, but I want to do a live stream with Boyan because Boyan is a really great guy, and he's got some superb equipment for Internet of Things, Arduino. He has the Visuino IDE written in Delphi, but programs the Arduino stuff. Oh, and someone is messaging me about something else. I'm going to mute that. I normally turn all my notifications off, but there's a couple of things that can ping me when they think they're urgent. Augustin Galoso Vieira says, amazing. Thank you. I'm really pleased about that, but it's nothing to do with me. I'm just saying what's there. Had a lot of questions about sessions. You can do session management, and it depends on the technology that you're using underlying it. This person whose name I can't pronounce, but it was Chinese characters. I scanned it to make sure it wasn't offensive before I put it up. And they were saying, oh, it's just a template engine. No, it kind of is. There are templates there, and it's a bit like the Moustache templates and some of the other templates that you see out there, Semper template as well. But it's way more than that. And really the benefit you've got is that you've got web broker and some of the other technologies in the background. You can actually use the WebStencils with all sorts of things, and it works well. It is very, very good. I love it. Of all the 12.2 features, we've got lots of new features that came with 12. I think WebStencils is probably one of my favorites. I really like Skier for Delphi when that was integrated. Skier really does, put a oomph in your programs, especially with FireMonkey. But I think WebStencils really takes it to the next level for web technology. There are other web technologies out there. I'm a big fan of IntraWeb. I've worked on large projects that use IntraWeb. UniGUI, which also uses Sencha.js, I think, in the background. And Sencha is an Idea company, the same as Embarcadero. UniGUI is great. I really like it. There are some others out there. There's one in Brazil whose name I forget. D2 Bridge. I have some issues with D2 Bridge at the moment. He's dealing with them, sorting them out. Once he's dealt with them, I'll be happy to show D2 Bridge as well in the future. But I can't do that right now due to some things that are going on. But there are things like TMS Web Core, which I also worked on a very large TMS Web Core project, and I'm talking like hundreds and hundreds of screens, hundreds of thousands of lines of code. I'm probably approaching 1 million, if not more. Very big product that was converted to TMS Web Core. It was hard work working on it, but the brief was take the desktop product and turn it into a web-based product that looks the same. There were some differences, how you would change the menus because it doesn't work in a browser if you've got a main menu so well. And it worked, and the client was very happy. It did exactly what he wanted, which is take all your business logic, take all the user interface and recreate it using TMS Web Core, and it worked well. And well done to TMS for doing that. There are lots of others out there. Like I say, IntraWeb is probably the other big technology that I've used a lot, but there's plenty of others, and there's also other templating engines and also web technology in general. Semper templates, which is from Konrad Vermeulen, is a developer in the UK and is an MVP in the UK. Really great. If you're not sure what they are, I've got the link set up for it at the moment, but it's a kind of like WebStencils thing, different. WebStencils is something that I think Marco can too originally worked on, and then we've just extended that and gone on top of that. But yeah, it's good. Bob says Mytov components are so amazingly useful, especially if you're doing Arduino work. Yeah, I love gadgets, you know, like Arduino stuff. You'll see behind me, just there, that is a box with a load of Arduino bits in it, and I've got like a little special toolkit to go with it, but a ton of Arduino stuff. I've got, you know, internet connected relays. I've got my knife fighting robot arm, which I finally found, and I'm moving again in April, so I'll probably lose it again. But yeah, it's really, really good. And Boyan is a very smart guy, and I definitely want to do it. I didn't know it was Ramadan, but Delphi Tips and Tricks says happy Ramadan to everybody. Well, happy Ramadan to you guys, those that celebrate it. Good luck to you. Boyan says thank you, Bob's Music Channel. And Ellie says, look, good news is it was a replay of the winter webinars, and I'm really, really sorry that I got that wrong. That's down to me. The good news is you'll get this replay going as well. So, you know, it is something that we're going to look at. What I'm going to do is share my screen in a minute and just show that demo again to talk about it. We've got, I think that's all the questions. You can do some tests, resource, white paper. Okay, yeah, I see. The WebStencils demo, I've put that up there, but there's also a free book. If you scan that code up there, boop, 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 next to my little Ouija board and my Delphi helmet, you scan that code, it will go to a page, just type in some details, and you get a free book. It's written by Antonio Zapata, one of our pre-sales guys, very, very smart engineer, software engineer, all about WebStencils, all about HTMX with WebStencils, and he's got some demos that use HTMX. And in fact, let's talk about doing that now. I'm going to share my screen, which is this one. And all being well, I'm going to leave myself down here so that we know what's going on. This is live today. So what I'm doing is I'm running Delphi. Oh, I got a weird message on my screen. What did I do wrong there? Oh, really? Hold on just 1 second. I didn't check this demo before I ran it. Hold on. Oh no, did I not have it set up? Okay. Well, that's not going to work very well, is it? Terminate. Yeah. Thought I had a website. WebStencils demo. Is it? Nope. Well, that's annoying. I showed it in the video, but I was going to do it now. Let me just see if I can. Okay. That's what it is. All right. Ironically, I haven't got my license set up to do something, so that was a bit annoying, isn't it? Let's try doing this one instead. Is the one that we want? I think this is it. There you go. Right, yeah, okay. So this is the right one. So let me just pull this over where you can see it. So what we've got here is this is the right demo. Luckily, it's going well today, isn't it? All sorts of things not happening. I had a tornado. Woken up in the middle of the night, and Sean says, "Is this like Python Flask and Ginger?" No, it's Python Flask is it's more like Python Flask is a bit more like a generalized web server, and then Ginger is templating stuff to go on top. It's it's like saying, is this cake like fish and chips? They're both food, and they both make you less hungry once you've eaten them, but they're slightly different purposes. So cake is cool and sweet and nice, and fish and chips is going to get you overweight and feeling happy. So, okay, what happens here is once I run the WebStencils demo, and I'm just going to pull that QR code up. It's up here. The one I'm running is the web broker demo. You can see where it says start to start the server, stop, and all the rest of it. So this is how it works. It's like a microservice for this particular version, but it could be an ISAPI module. It could be you know, an Apache module, or it could be just a standalone app. All of those were, and it could be a RAD server demo, which is a bit more complicated. This machine that I'm sitting at hasn't got my license out to work that. In order to get to it, all I need to do is to click on that and go to the appropriate site. So I'm going to go to localhost 8080, pull that over here, and there it is. Now, as you can see, this is running in the terminal. This is the Windows terminal. So it's a terminal app. I'm just going to make sure I can see your chat, which I can. And you've got this rather nice demo. So that's the terminal. And this is the demo that you can get to with this QR code. There are a couple of examples. The first things first is you can see how fast it is. It tells you all the syntax. I'm just going to hide that QR code because it's a bit in the way. Actually, I think I can make it go over the other side. Can I? Oh, I can move it, but maybe I can't. Oh yes, I can. Look, bing! See, I can make it go like woohoo! Yeah, I can move it. So this is actually basically a demo app of WebStencils in action, demoing WebStencils, if that makes sense, and also documenting it. So the basics are the syntax of WebStencils, and it's actually very easy. Basically, it's just an @ symbol, and you can put that into a template file, which is just an ordinary HTML file, and then your WebStencils processor, and I'll show you the code for this in a minute, will go through, find that template, and process those things. So it's a bit like a macro replacement, a macro conversion. Charles says he's got to run, catch the replay. Thanks, Charles. See you soon. You can put blocks in. It's got all sorts of conditionals and stuff like that. But those are the basics. The basics are use the @ symbol. The keywords for it are documented here as well in this demo. And again, I can see a lot of people scanning the code, which is good. You can have comments if you really want in your HTML, but you can also have an if, then, and else. So you can have conditional stuff. So what happens is you create a HTML file on your machine, on your server or your PC or wherever you're going to have this web part hosted. It then needs to talk to the internet or talk to your local network. And you'll have some template files with this kind of language in. It looks like ordinary HTML because it is ordinary HTML. And the files look like that. If I just go into here and open this, let me see if I can use, here's one. You can see on my preview here, this is a preview of the HTML. But if I just open it with Ultra Edit, which is going to appear somewhere over on my other screen, of course, because, you know, why not? There's a couple of things you can't see there. Go over here. Here is a template. So it's a layout page, and this is documented on in this basics bit. It's just straightforward HTML until the point at which you need to show something from your web broker. your web app, or whatever you want to call it, whatever technology you're using. So I am showing here the company, last name, first name, city, phone, and email from a customer record. Where does that customer record come from? Well, that is from straight from a FIDAC query, but it could be from any other object. It's literally a customer class. And you can see here that in the template engine, it says for every customer in the customer's database, do this. And so what does that look like? Well, if I go to the example and choose customers, there is what it looks like. So my template file looks like that. Okay. And the main layout is just like a header and footer part of it, which you can also edit as well. But there you can see the table was set up. So this part here, and then these lines 1 to I think it's 1,000 or something like that that we've got in here. Those lines are all created dynamically by WebStencils. This is what WebStencils does, and it's very, very quick and very, very powerful. You could put anything in here that you wanted. And let me just scroll to the bottom of the page. Yeah, so it's 1,000 records, and you can see it's very, very fast. If I just go back to here, and then we'll just pick that customers again. Ready? Boom, instant. 1,000 records retrieved from your database. What does that look like? Well, if I go into here, there is a task control note, this one. I didn't write this myself, so I'm not 100% sure how it's set up, but there's the bit that opens and closes the database. There's my customers database, and in the actual data module itself, in the web module, it's got some annotation to make it happen. And the annotation is this. This is a class decoration, or a attribute decoration, should I say. And it's just saying a web stencils var called customers is created. And that will then give you the contents of this FDMem table, a FIDAC memory table. Okay. And you remember that now that we've created that, that's all you need to do to create this variable for the web stencils thing. Once you've done that in your code, you can now refer to that variable. Okay, my customer variable, okay, which is from the customers. And each of these is a field in the memory table. Okay, so first name, last name, city, phone, email, they're just fields in the table. It's as simple as that. It is incredibly easy. But you think, well, that's great. I mean, that looks fantastic. It's very, very easy to use. But now this is the really clever part. What about, and that's just displaying information. It's not like, dynamic, but it could be, a million records. You could have pagination. It supports pagination. You can do calculations on things and stuff like that. Well, what about if you want something that's a little bit more dynamic? This is another one of the demos. Again, if you scan over on that QR code up there in the top right of the screen, you'll get to this demo. You run that, and you can see that this is a kind of task to-do list type thing. But what it's using is technology called HTMX. Google HTMX. I didn't actually put the link up this time, but HTMX.org, I think it is on there as well now. Go to htmx.org, and you can do things like this. So here I am marking that task off. I can edit that task, so I use the with statement responsibly. Yeah, it's really, really funny. I thought this was a bit rude, so what I can do is go in. I can click on this and say fire monkey is way. Antonio will be annoyed because that was his little thing. So I can edit the task. Notice the web page doesn't flash. Watch this. Ready? I'm going to mark this one off as done. No redrawing of the web page. No little symbol up here showing that it's recalculating. There is no round trip, no round trip to that. It's extremely fast. I can delete items from here. I can add a new item. So let me say live webinar like this. Add that task in there. Again, no flashing. It's redrawn the table dynamically. And if you recall, we're using a HTML template for that. And if I want to, I can delete that task, persist it. So if I just go back into here, go to the customer's demo for a second, and then go back into the HTML task. This is persisted. Okay, so it's saving it back directly. Okay, you can delete things from it and all that kind of stuff. Templates, it explains in the demo, it documents itself how the templates work, what you need to have. This is the basic HTML for a template. You put anything you like in it. You could literally, we know because we did it, take a WordPress page that's hosted on something that can support WordPress, and then put WebStencils code dynamically in your WordPress site. WordPress is used by many millions of people to do their web development because it's easy and block generated, and they use the Gutenberg block system and all that kind of stuff. I'm a big fan of WordPress myself, but you can create templates in your themes on WordPress, and in the background you need some link for it to talk to the engine. You remember I've got this engine running in the background here. It's a microservice, so it's running on the DOS command line, but it could be Linux because the WebStencils runs under Linux and Mac OS as well. So Mac OS can be a host, Linux can be a host, and so can Windows. So you could have that running on Amazon Cloud or Azure Cloud or some web server hosted by DigitalOcean or someone like that, or GoDaddy or 101 Internet or whoever the other people are. As long as they allow you to run your own apps, it can do it. And it can do all the rendering from here. Very, very straightforwardly. Go back in here. Woo! I just like doing that because it is just so very, very cool. And again, if I mark something off, go back out here. Let me go back to here and say stop, just to show you it is actually live. Stops the server. I'm going to continue, and if I refresh this, it's going to fail because it's a live web page. It's the real thing. It's not a cheat. It's not some kind of scam or something like that. Now, if I go back into here and say start again to restart my server, Microsoft Edge usually spots it. May not in this case, but it's running again, and it runs like that instantly. Very, very, very powerful, and I absolutely cannot say enough great things about this. There are a bunch of components. There's a WebStencils engine, the WebStencils processor. Read about these. I'm not going to go into them in depth in the webinar because there's no point. It's not stuff you're going to absorb. But adding data with advar, it goes into all the things that you've seen today. Structure of the language, the basics, and all the rest of it. Fantastic. My favorite, by far my favorite thing we've done, apart from Skier, which I really love as well, for a long time. So there you go. Okay, let me stop the screen sharing. So did you like that? It was fun, wasn't it? It is I think one of the best things, as I said, that we've done for a while. Patrick is doing what he always does, which is putting all the links up for everything. DelphiBooks.com. Just go to DelphiBooks.com, and I'll point that out now. In fact, I think I've got a QR code for Delphi Books. No, I don't. Oh, that's evil of me. Let me just because Delphi Books is Patrick's website, and if you're wondering where you can get books about Delphi, then go to Patrick's site, which is up there. In fact, if I books.com, I'm just going to share my screen again for a second. This is Patrick's site, which you can now see. Um, Play that chat message there. But there's the book there. Oh, sorry, that one there. HTMX, wrong product. HTMX and WebStencils. There's a book about it by Antonio Zapata. But there's some really great books. Marco Kaiser, Marco G. Marco G's Pioneering Simplicity book, which I edited or helped edit, should I say. Is there the history of Pascal, history of Delphi, and lots of Embarcadero stuff as well. Delphi and all its glory, expert Delphi from Marco Cantu, because unfortunately Pavel passed away. Books by Primos, books by Dahlia, that's her new book, quality driven. But Patrick is an absolute star for this website. It's really fantastic. Go to delphi-books.com, and anything you want to learn about Delphi, there's a book there for it. Like I say, we've also got some free books as well. There's Code Better in Delphi by Alistair Christie. He's a really great developer as well. I really like Alistair. He's based in New Zealand. He lives on a thing called a homestead block. That's right. It's a New Zealand term, but it's like a small farmstead, I suppose, is the way of doing it. Is this a live webinar or a replay? Does that answer your question, Nigel? So I did do a little bit of a replay, and I did some live as well. So it is live. Today is Tuesday, the 4th of March. So right now, unless you're watching this on a replay, in which case, no, it's a replay. Does that make sense? It's like Inception, isn't it? Or the Matrix or something. I don't know. We're confusing ourselves. But I just okay. So Nigel, no, this bit's live. I should have a little live symbol somewhere, shouldn't I, or something like that? And Nigel says yes. Sorry, it's fine. I did mess things up. I got the wrong link when I started the webinar today. Right. Okay. So hopefully you've seen some of the things that we can do with the WebStencils. It's absolutely fantastic. Great technology, does some really cool things, but don't just take my word for it. Go along and have a go yourself. There is a really good blog post by David Cornelius, corneliusconcepts.tech / introducing das WebStencils. I recommend reading that because he did a really good blog post about it, and he's another MVP. We've got quite a lot of them, but David is the US MVP, and Patrick is obviously based in France. And then like Pro Martin, he couldn't be anything else. And then I also did a blog post about WebStencils, which is tinyurl.com/winter24web. So the replay of the video was from the winter webinars series that I did, because I seem to be just doing many webinars at the moment, and the world has gone crazy. So it's all good. The full session is about WebStencils available on the YouTube channel. Yes, it is. There you go. So just note down that bit, MGIHL. But just go to the YouTube channel. It's a lot easier, I think. He said, I did try, but I got stuck with trying to use a third-party host. So, oh, yes. I remember this. Yes, I think there's some kind of port opening thing. I'm sorry, there's debris flying past my window. We've had a tornado storm, so a little bit worrying when you see things blowing past your window when it's tornado season. It's not windy outside, so I don't know where it's coming from, but there you go. Okay, so I think that's going to be it for now. We are back again on Friday, so I'll just mark this one as done. On Friday, it's going to be all about mobile. Okay, and this will be pretty much completely live. And what I'm going to try and do is gather together some tips and tricks and things like that. Nigel's problem is actually a bit more complicated. The there's a conversation going on in the chat about why he couldn't get it done. It was a bit more complicated than that. The web host, um, he needed to run the app on the web host, and the web host didn't really understand the question. And then I think we had a little bit of an issue trying to get it through. And to be honest, I'm really, really busy, and I can't sort of spend a lot of time going through and helping too many things, but I will help where I can. But this particular tech support guy or girl, I think it was a guy actually, didn't really understand what we're trying to do. And really, you just needed to run something somewhere, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know if you can do that." And yes, you should be able to. And then in the end, we just couldn't get it to work. And it's just down to that hosting. I have run it on other things, and I know it works. He's saying the problem running the back end for HTMX stencils using a hosted site. Yeah. What it is, they had a kind of hybrid shared hosting or virtual private server. I think it was shared hosting, and so they didn't allow apps to run that would run continuously. If you had a virtual private server, I think it would have worked, but that was a lot more expensive. Of course, if you had a dedicated server, then it would work. As Nigel says, he got it running locally, so that's annoying. I think there's got to be a way around that. There are services out there that will let you do it. I don't understand. That host was not the conversation I saw. They didn't quite understand what the questions were. I think they just used to people putting up a website, and they take the money, and that's the end of it. So, yes, as Patrick says, and Nigel says, yes, it was a problem with the exe for Linux running on a server. Correct. Yes, and the thing about Linux is, it's a Linux is great, except no two Linuxes are the same. And there's usually prerequisites. So if you've got a Debian-based Linux, then you can install a bunch of things and it works. But if it's not Debian-based, then you've got sort of apt instead of some other type of technology. So it's good. Didier says it be continued. Okay, it is not going to be discontinued. What was the previous framework was discontinued, Didier? Because we haven't discontinued any. What we used to do was bundle intraweb with the product. We didn't write that. It's actually written by another company, and it is still available, and they still maintain it. If you tell me what the other web framework was, it was just outdated and we outgrew it. But WebStencils is not going away anytime soon. I guarantee it. I know some of the things that are coming up in the future, and I can tell you WebStencils is very much part of that. So I can't guarantee anything because the world could change. Some president or other could suddenly ban web technologies. Who knows? Yeah, anything's possible. But as far as I'm aware, there are absolutely, and I can promise you this right now, there's zero plans at the moment to get rid of this. WebSnap has been discontinued. Yeah, the reason for that, it was just became obsolete. You can still use a lot of that technology. It's called by different names and things like that. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. WebStencils, no, that's here to stay, definitely, for sure. We really like it. Sencha Architect, but different toolkit. Yes, Sencha Architect was bundled with something else. I think Rad Studio Architect for a while, or some Sencha version anyway. Sencha is a JavaScript framework for doing web stuff. That's nothing really to do with Embarcadero, I have to say. We are both owned by Idera, and we do work with each other from time to time. I know people from Sencha and they know me, but the products are quite separate. They're parallel but separate. Like Ultra Edit, I get on very well with the guys from Ultra Edit, and I've done multiple webinars with them, and actually I was doing something the other day in their other webinar. But they are doing their own thing, and we do our own thing. So we kind of cross over when it makes sense and separate other times. We've got shared people doing things as well. I think we have a lot of time before it happens. Yes, there's no doubt that WebStencils are going to be around for some time. What else? Actually, the architect was sent you developer solution. There you go. Yes, I never used that. I have to say, I have tried XJS, which is mentioned here. They're fine. It's just it's not a technology that I particularly use. I'm a Delphi guy really, and a C guy and a C++ guy, and JavaScript is a language I can write in because I've had to, but it's not really my kind of where I'm at. You know, I'm a slightly different side of the fence to JavaScript, so it's good. Okay, all right. Well, look, I think that was it. Go to that web page that I showed you earlier, which was this one. This is the blog post from the winter webinar. It covers the video and has all the slides and links to the demos and the books in there. Easy to remember, tinyurl.com/winter24web. This is not the winter webinars. This is the 30 for 30 to celebrate 30 glorious years of Delphi. And by the way, whilst we're on the subject, just mention that Delphi is number 9 in the as of February 2024, number 9 in the world ranking of computer languages, just below Go, which is very popular, and SQL, which I would say is not really a programming language. I get it, I understand, but we're not even top 10 now. We're not top 9. We leapfrogged over Visual Basic and Fortran and Scratch and Rust. Rust is incredibly popular. Weirdly enough, while we're talking about popularity of languages, and Delphi used to be much more popular than it is now, but it is very popular, and we've got a webinar later in the series that's going to show some projects that use it. But you know, top 9 is a pretty good going thing, but the problem is that a lot of it's based on public repositories of code, and people were working on projects that are private, so they don't tend to discuss their work. I certainly wasn't allowed to when I was developer, contracting developer at one point. I wasn't allowed to discuss the projects I worked on, and not even put it on a LinkedIn profile or something. That was expressly forbidden. So to all intents and purposes, everything I did was invisible with Delphi, and yet I was writing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of lines of Delphi code, and millions of people were using the product. And of course that means that lists like this with the top 9 in, it is completely ignored and overlooked. So there are a lot of projects out there. I'm not going to claim that we're as popular as we used to be back in the day, but certainly it's much more good. Delphi for PHP. Actually, there's a reason why that went away. It just didn't make sense in the end, unfortunately. I liked Delphi for PHP. I actually bought it because I was still a developer. I didn't work for Embarcadero, and I used it for a while. But actually, that time was a very turbulent time for the company, who was Enterprise, I think, released it, and it just unfortunately didn't fit into what happened when the company was sold. It just didn't make sense. It was just unfortunate timing. So it was just one of those things. Business is business. In a lot of these things, if people are not adopting them enough to justify their continued existence, then unfortunately it is the survival of the fittest, not the nicest. And so you can say, well, I really liked it. It was nice, but was it the one that should have remained going forwards? You might think so, but many people didn't, unfortunately, and that's why it went, by the way. As Patrick says, the creator of it is in the TMS web core team now. Yes, I believe that's true. I don't know whether that's entirely true, but yeah, I think they are. TMS web core. I like TMS software. Good company. Right. That's it, I think, for now. I will be back on Friday, as I was saying earlier on, where we are going to focus on mobile development. If you haven't done so already, if you're watching on YouTube, if I mess up again with the links, you can be saved by clicking on the subscribe button. if you want to click on like, that would be great. It'd really be helpful because then people go, oh, you've got a load of likes. But actually, we're not monetized, so nothing cool will happen. I won't get like a big award or anything. But if you click on subscribe and then click on that bell icon and select all, when I do go live, if I've messed up the event or some disaster has happened, you'll get an alert saying, hey, Embarcadero Technologies has gone live, and it will tell you that I'm broadcasting live. So, yeah, and we won't know who you are, we won't know your email address, we won't even know if you use Delphi or something else, or if you love or hate us, we just know that you subscribe. So if you can click on subscribe, that would be very helpful. And we do measure that as a measure of our success, but again, you know, it's organic growth. We get many more people watching on Facebook Live, for example, many thousands on there, and Twitter, it's a much more turbulent audience. X, I suppose it's called now. We're thinking about Threads. We do broadcast a Meta Live, and so in theory we should go out to Threads and Instagram, and I think Facebook, but I'm not sure how it works. I think they might have separate streaming platforms. They haven't converged yet. But anyway, whatever you're watching on, if you can, LinkedIn, click on the subscribe to our channel. You won't get hassled by us. You won't get lots of things. Yeah. Paul says, yeah, see data. Yeah, they basically they hit an impasse and fired all their Delphi guys and girls, or let them go. I think it's wrong to say fired. And they decided to focus on one very specific area. And unfortunately, Delphi and some of the other packages, like I think the JavaScript one as well, they just said they weren't going to do it anymore, and so they focused on an ODBC technology. You can still use C data with their ODBC drivers, which of course would work for any language, but we didn't have a deal with them. We had a deal in place. We were very keen to continue it with C data, but they chose not to. That's entirely, they've done nothing wrong. It's entirely up to them, and they never did anything wrong. It's just that sometimes these things don't work out, so we stopped doing it. Hopefully Delphi is not a nice product. Sometimes it feels like we're doing our best to not make it nice, but it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Bob says, well done, Ian. Cheers. Thanks, Bob. We might have to look at Bob's music channel at the moment. Patrick's blue face smiling, and Paul says, thanks everybody for the interesting chats. See you soon. Thanks for everybody. Come back on Friday for mobile tips and tricks. I'm going to bring together a load of other things, loads of examples, and probably push some apps down live to my Android phone, and I've got an iPhone as well. I think this is a S25 Ultra or something, latest one. It works great with Rad Studio, works perfectly well. And my iPhone is in the other room, but I have an iPhone and I put my apps on that as well. And we can also go out to Mac and stuff like that as desktop, really. Okay, thanks very much. And I'm sorry about the kerfuffle, but I'll see you again soon. And Boyan, let's arrange a date and we'll do a webinar together. Martin says, have a nice weekend. Actually, I'm back on Friday, so you don't have to, I might see you before then. Thanks very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.